Hello and welcome to AI Workflows to Impress Your CMO. I'm Jackie Hill, Marketing AI Lead at Canva. Now, many of you use AI tools, but you feel like you're not getting as much out of them as you want. Today's session is about moving from trying AI to using it as a core part of your workflow, so it drives real, measurable ROI. According to our 2025 State of Marketing and AI report, 94% of marketers already have dedicated AI budget, but only 58% of those marketers say that they have AI truly embedded into their workflows. Today, we're hoping to close that gap. You'll hear how OpenAI, Dropbox, and Canva are helping brands streamline workflows, scale content, and measure real impact, from conversions to cost efficiency. To make today's session even more exciting, we're also giving away US $100 wellness reset gift at the end. So to enter, simply share your answer to our closing question in the chat. The most thoughtful idea is going to win a moment of calm because even the very best AI minds need to rest to create their very best work. So joining me today is Dane Vahey, Head of Strategic Marketing at OpenAI, George Baier, Senior Director at Dropbox, David Stafford, VP Global Customer Experience and Success at Dropbox, who's going to take us through some product demonstrations. And later we'll also hear from Kelsey Moore, Product Marketing Lead AI at Canva, who will walk us through some AI workflows within Canva. Canva has always had the mission of empowering the world to design, and this is especially true with AI. In addition to its own AI, Canva also enables you to integrate seamlessly with the AI tools you're already using so that you can search, summarize, and surface content from Canva designs right from within your own AI assistant. Case in point, Canva created the very first design connector for ChatGPT. This means instead of copying and pasting design content into ChatGPT, you can directly integrate it with Canva, making it easier to work directly from your content and generate new ideas. But before we dive into the details, we'll also discuss one of Canva's other integrations with Dropbox, which makes it effortless to share files between the two platforms. And don't worry, we're going to walk you through both of these platforms step by step, showing you exactly how they work so that you can get started right away. Because we know that 80% of marketers say AI tools enhance productivity, but we also know that 64% feel overwhelmed by the number of AI tools that we have available. So the aim of today is to help you identify the right tools for your marketing workflows. And as always, the Canva team members are ready in the chat to answer any questions you may have, so don't be afraid to reach out. Let's get into it. Dane, let's start with you. Welcome, welcome. What does it mean to build AI native marketing operations and why is that important?
Yeah, excited to be here on the webinar and was very impressed with how quickly Canva built the first connector to ChatGPT. So kudos to you for getting that out. We use it very regularly here at OpenAI. What does it mean to build AI native marketing operations and why that's important? We've seen AI really kind of change every single role and just the access to kind of information, what this means for people to be much more versatile. Like I look at modern marketers and like, this is what I find about AI. It's very freeing. When I've always chatted with high performers, they want to do more. They want to have less dependencies. They want to think about better work that they can ship. They want to be able to move faster. And where I've seen AI kind of change is it allows people to have more context quicker, to produce better, higher quality work, and actually have more experimentation and learning. Anyone on our team should be able to be somewhat of a product marketer. They should be able to ask ChatGPT or other systems you're using to pull in the right information and make better informed decisions. At the same time, everyone can have opinion about design. They can use AI as a thought partner. So we're just seeing people become much more well-rounded marketers and better informed on what other people do. And that actually allows for better cross-functional collaboration between different teams. It allows for designers and product marketers or people working on web or growth to have much better understanding of each other's roles. So I've seen that really kind of change, not just in the information you're getting, but the culture of how your team works and how you understands each other. So that gets me really excited. It's making everyone feel better and connected with other people across their teams. I think that really improves the outcome of the work.
So incredible. I couldn't agree more, Dane. And George, maybe switching gears to yourself, what are some of the issues that you're finding marketers are facing in the AI world?
Yeah. Oh, well, first off, thanks for having me, Jackie. Great to be here. Great to be speaking with you too, Dane. And, I think one of the things marketers face is something that we're all universally facing at work right now, which is there's a huge challenge with tool overload. And we've done research with marketers. 90% of them say that they feel efficient with their tech stack, like they're finding a way to do the work. But more than 30% of them are still feeling like there's a lot of inefficiencies in terms of how the tools are set up and how they work together. And I saw in the Canva study that you launched recently that 64% of people are feeling overwhelmed with all the AI options. And so marketers are resourceful, is sort of the takeaway, but the fragmentation is slowing them down. And so that's why seamless integration is really critical. And so I think the second point I would hit on is that without that integration and with the flurry of tools and options out there, people are losing context. AI can generate content faster than ever, but often it can be disconnected from the past, whether it was a campaign, the approvals process, or anything else that may risk alignment along the way. And so 35% of marketers that we've talked to say that AI integrating into their workflows has still been a pretty huge challenge. And so those things considered, context, I think the last piece is trust. Teams really worry about exposing IP to these tools still. Company deployed options are obviously favorable, but what we found is that there's still concern about exposing that information. And so you need to sort of balance governance and security while not slowing teams down and the work coming to a halt. So AI is definitely proving to be powerful already, but without context and trust, it can quickly become noise.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, we at Canva have definitely set up a lot of policies to help make that feel more secure, and that's been a huge unlock for us in moving those types of things forward. So really appreciate that perspective. So Dane, where are you seeing the biggest marketing breakthroughs in AI today?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that kind of jump out is testing and personalization. Testing, you can obviously on the creative side do a lot more. You can try a lot more different variations of different campaigns and different assets. You can use different image tools to get things more out there and see how they work. Also, using things like generative AI as a way to get feedback. We've trained certain personas that we're targeting and built and used things like our GONCON scripts to basically walk that into each of the personas where we can ask questions and kind of get feedback as well. So there's kind of no excuse for not getting kind of feedback from your ideal personas as you're testing. But what I'm really excited about is personalization and the ability, kind of surprisingly of AI to add more personalization into kind of targets and relationships than less. So we built internal tools here at OpenAI that if we get an inbound lead coming in, we of course can qualify it and score it, but we can actually have AI reach out and provide a really kind of personalized set of context and questions related to what that inquirer is. And it can have a whole back and forth sort of set of conversation. It can surface the right documents and information. So instead of having someone go through and try to navigate around your website and find really information, you can actually listen and talk to AI and kind of get that results that you're looking for. So we're finding people are just getting up to speed much faster on our products, much more informed on what it can help in. And then when they're ready to speak to a sales rep, they kind of have that point of a lot of discovery and knowledge. And I think that's something that people really appreciate. They don't have to necessarily jump on the phone and like talk to sales just to answer a question. They can actually use AI to learn more about your products and your features in a really personalized, specific way. So testing and personalization, I think, are two really big breakthroughs we've seen, and we're using OpenAI to make our outreach more effective.
That's a great point. And some of those experiences feel really magical as a marketer who's been in the biz for a while, to see how that kind of personalization can really, really elevate the message to the customers you're trying to reach. So, fabulous example. So, let's talk a little bit more about ROI. We kind of touched on this, but Dane, how do you measure your AI impact beyond your time savings?
Yeah, I think, not too dissimilar to how you probably did it previously. I think it matters not just hours saved, but you're seeing actually impact on campaign performance. You're seeing better click through rates. You're seeing more conversions. You're seeing better cost efficiency in the content you're creating. You're doing more campaigns. You're actually shipping more work that's like really meaningful. To be honest, though, like I have a much higher bar than I used to when it came to AI. Like I expect people to just do better work. And if they're not asking, ChatGPT, like, is this good? If they're not bouncing enough ideas, they're not testing it. That is somewhat just kind of lazy. And I want people to like force themselves to use these tools, get better opinions. And I think when you do that, you get better decision making, you get more thoughtfulness in your organization, you get higher quality work. So I've just seen like the caliber of discussion and interactions across our teams actually raise. And to me, that is always going to lead to higher impact.
Yeah, that's so true. And George, what about Dropbox? How are you all measuring your impact?
Well, what Dane just shared really resonated with me. At Dropbox, we're thinking less about just hours being saved and more about creative velocity. So with marketing teams, it's how quickly can a team move from idea to campaign launch And it's exactly what Dane said. I mean, we're starting to expect people to really be second and triple checking their work with this AI assistance. And, it's valuable when the team can test more concepts, iterate faster, ultimately deliver a higher quality output. And the second thing is on a personal level, when we talk to people about saving time, it's, at the end of the day, you ship it or you don't. And so like doing it faster, people want to hear about the qualitative aspects. So we think about effectiveness over productivity. So, what does that look like when teams are making better decisions, shipping work they feel more confident in, and seeing those results, which obviously directly impact them on their career level, at the functional level, and for the company's outcomes as well. And then lastly, we are Dropbox. We think a lot about sharing and where content goes. And, AI certainly ups the stakes there. And so we're thinking about the risk mitigation value. Like if you're using AI properly, you should be able to clean up risky links. You should ensure people are working from the right version and getting away from final V27. And so we want to help protect that brand integrity and your IP, which is top of mind for CMOs. So our North Star isn't just productivity for its own sake. It's really whether AI makes teams more effective and their work more impactful.
Yeah, and more joyful as well, because you can really get a lot of enjoyment whenever you're not doing so much busy work trying to clean up naming conventions and weird titles. So we really appreciate that innovation. So let's move on to how we really think about our content demands growing faster than ever, and budgets are still really under the microscope. So, the old way of handling things was using a suite of independent tools, but obviously today AI is really about integrated ecosystems, as we've said. But this is super intimidating, especially for 33% of marketers who still find it difficult to integrate into existing workflows. But fortunately, companies like ours are really making it easier. So, Dane, can you explain Canva's integration with ChatGPT?
Yeah, Canva obviously was one of the first to build an integration into ChatGPT, and it makes it really simple. You can basically take a prompt in ChatGPT where you're working on different idea or text or outline, and then basically just clicking connectors, you essentially bring in kind of the Canva workflow straight into ChatGPT, where without ever leaving the chat, you can basically pull in things like brand guidelines or help you use Canva to really kind of think about beautiful designs that you might be ready to share. So it kind of takes a lot of those incredible tools that you have when you think about Canva and brings it into kind of the different areas that you're working in ChatGPT. And I think this is really, really powerful. I think of Canva, and actually, our friends at Dropbox is a great example too, where AI is making their products so much more even better for their customers, where it's adding more value into what they can do, expanding the horizon, how quickly they can access it. So, we've seen a lot of great companies even kind of scale the impact that they've had by thinking about how AI can kind of work intelligently with the amazing workflows that they've already established. And so I think Canva is a great example of that. And we think a lot about that kind of brand guidelines and continuity and bringing that through. And Canva's perfect for doing that.
Great example. We're very excited about the connector as well. So, Dane, we've got a quick demo here. Let's take a look. So, you can see the regular ChatGPT interface. Imagine you have a tech company called Byte. I've connected my Canva account for Byte to ChatGPT so that it can access all the files and folders that I have there. Say you're prepping for a meeting and you want to revisit last quarter's campaign insights from a presentation that you have in Canva. Instead of digging through folders or switching apps, you can just say, summarize my campaign strategies from Q1 from Canva. You'll want to make sure that you have the connector for Canva turned on in the menu here. And then you can hit go. So with the Canva connector and ChatGPT, your presentations, reports, and strategy docs are all instantly available to you in chat. You can surface key points, extract messaging, or recap results, all grounded in the Canva content that you already use every day. It gives you smarter, more relevant responses because it's rooted in your actual work. No complex setup, no learning curve, just deeper insights available instantly in ChatGPT. So, Dane, what about optimizing campaigns for specific channels? How are you all attacking that?
Yeah, I mean, again, using connector like Canva is a perfect example. I'll give you like one actually today I was thinking about as it jumps to the top of mind. We have a new book that we're putting out, a guide of staying ahead in the age of AI. And we had a blue cover and a red cover. And I asked like LinkedIn or asked like the Canva connector in ChatGPT, it's like, what is the right color for LinkedIn? And it was actually like really helpful, like surprisingly helpful in terms of what it was sharing. But basically it was kind of made a really good point that, LinkedIn is all blue. So having something that pops with more of a red feel that actually kind of brings that out. Red has a little bit more of an emotional connection where people feel that sort of like sense of urgency and excitement, as long as it's not like too dark red. Given all the other kind of contrast that you see in typical content on LinkedIn, like that actually red cover and the different tones we use would perform much better and actually have probably a higher click-through rate versus like a blue background. So just even like that level of insight where I, I'm not a designer. I try to fake it, but that's not like my specialty. But I can go to actually have a really informed conversation and explains it into a way in natural language that I can really understand and think about. And then when I go to my design team, I can come with the recommendation, explain my rationale, make sure like they feel good about it. But I think, again, that just kind of up levels the conversation that we can have by bringing this kind of insights straight into the work that we're doing.
Oh, that's such an incredible collaborative example. So thanks for bringing that. So some people kind of worry about AI making things feel formulaic. Does AI enhance or limit your creativity? I'd say by your example, it's probably the latter, but yeah, curious for your thoughts.
Yeah, I can kind of get that. I feel exactly the opposite. I feel much
Yeah.
more creative with AI. I mean, there's like the obvious use cases of a blank page, right? And be able to kind of like tackle that as well. But I think just the idea of being able to bring in a lot more opinions on the work that you're doing, ask AI to help you kind of think about writing. I mean, I'll test different models to see kind of what the outputs are and how I want to write. I built different GPTs that I've done with different kind of like people that I trust as like great writers or great thinkers or great designers. So I'll bounce content off them as well. So I have this kind of like personal, personal workforce that's kind of helping me kind of think and brainstorm ideas. And like to me, that like it also makes the work more fun. And like I do my best work when I'm having fun, when I'm interacting as well. And I think that's, some of the return to the office and kind of bring back in person brings out that enthusiasm. But even at home, I can somewhat simulate that with AI and kind of prompting different questions to different kind of insights and pulling that out. And then just the ability to, instead of me, submitting a website design, which is a mock-up and like text. I mean, how many times have like we done that where it's just like, here's your text box, here's like the different areas, here's your other box, and just like writing copy, copy, copy. I can actually come up with designs, visuals, like pull in different examples. I can create whole mood boards as I think through the work that I want. And like that just like adds a lot more richer conversation again about how we kind of interact and think about design. So I found my creativity go up quite a bit. And I think these tools are actually just even improving on the creative aspects. I think what's also been interesting, just kind of the arc of adoption in AI. Creativity's, been some of the fastest areas that we've seen AI really kind of come and adopt, maybe surprisingly so. So I think even people in the creative world are also really kind of embracing a lot of these tools as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, I want to talk about another integration that I'm equally excited about with Dropbox. Now, you probably know that Dropbox is a reliable place where you can store all of your files, but it turns out it can do so much more than that. Canva's Dropbox integration means that you can do all the things you'd expect, like easily accessing your files and saving your designs directly. However, Dropbox Dash brings a whole new layer of AI powered tools, especially when it comes to searching, organizing, and managing your work. When we surveyed marketers, 85% of them said that they save 208 hours annually with AI, but Dropbox Stack can probably save you even more. So, welcome David Stafford from Dropbox, who's here to tell us all about it. So, David, can you tell us a little bit more about how Dropbox Dash works?
Absolutely. And once again, thanks so much for having us here today, Jackie. This is a great audience and a great topic to be talking about. So I am super passionate to be talking to you about Dropbox Dash. Let me describe it in kind of three different vectors. The very first piece is how Dropbox Dash, even works. And it starts with the ability to connect, just like we were talking about already, how it connects to the tools that you're already in, the way that you're already working, and then allow you to find that content that you're looking for. And so Dash connects with the tools that your team is already using, like Canva, like ChatGPT, and then helps to find the content. But we're not just looking for text within the files. With Dropbox Dash, we're going to be able to find images, find video, find audio across all of your applications in order to pull the right work into view very, very quickly. The second element is we're not just about finding a file or about finding content. We're actually about helping you find answers to what you're working on. And so with this type of solution with Dropbox Dash, you're going to be able to ask questions within your connected content ecosystem, and Dash can return an answer with source citations using your existing content, all of that without ad hoc uploading of individual documents or files. And that helps you move very quickly from find to decide so much quicker. And the last piece I want to talk on is what we've already heard a few times today. I know George mentioned it, around trust being built into this type of platform, which is Dash is honoring all of the source permissions. It gives admins oversights. It leans on Dropbox's privacy stance, for example, not training on customer data without permissions. And that is really what is resonating with the folks that we're hearing, where 53% of our IT leaders tell us that managing permissions with AI has been a real challenge. And I think that's a really great way that we get to all bring it back together. Canva, Dropbox Dash, for our community here today.
Beyond simple search, so how does AI Dash help teams find answers rather than just files?
Well, the word that I've heard come up time and time today is this idea of context. And so that's where I'll start. Is we're able to organize a shared context. We leverage an element of Dash, we heard George mention it, called stacks, where you can group your links, your files, your notes into this living, breathing workspace. It's kind of like creating a playlist for all of your work. And then that's something that you can share internally and externally so that everyone is working from the same source of truth. When you do that, this content then becomes usable and actionable, and that helps improve that creative velocity that we heard about earlier and speed campaign delivery. Now, another piece that we're equally excited around is instant understanding without needing to open files. And so when you're working with a stack of content, Dash can summarize files and web-based content at a glance from search or browser extensions, and that turns those really long, painful decks or presentations into very quick, actionable insights. That means that you're going to be able to create faster, have more time creating, and less time iterating and reading all of the different elements. And then finally, real-time context. From your start page, Dash is going to be able to surface relevant activities and upcoming meetings alongside relevant content to quickly bring even more context on what's changed and help lead to decisions that have already been made. So with file verification, you're going to be able to very easily mark up an official version of an asset and avoid those version control issues that your answers are based on the most recent content. Really exciting when you bring all of this together into the workflows that we'd love to be able to kind of walk you through and show you more.
That's just fantastic, because don't we all just want more answers rather than more questions? So really appreciate that, David. So AI has been around long enough that 93% of marketers trust AI to accurately reflect their brand's tone and messaging. And they're using it in a multitude of ways, from copywriting to editing to video creation and personalization. On top of that, it's responding to our emails, doing research, and writing reports for us. But that's really just the basics. Today, you can use AI to write code to build interactive experiences. In fact, we've got a demo of that here. From the homepage, you'll go to Canva AI, then Code for Me, and you can choose from some starting points, or you can design your own prompt. For example, clicking on this interactive pricing calculator prompt, within just a few minutes, it'll build that for you, and then you can go on to customize it. It's amazing, right? But coding aside, to become a real AI native, we need to build workflows that assume AI collaboration from day one. As we've already discussed, Canva is a great way to layer multiple AI services, but it's not just about the tools, it's also about the team. For example, everyone at Canva now has AI in their job description and is supported with the time, tools, and training to make the most out of these AI tools. But one thing we're noticing is the effect of how AI is changing the way that we humans work together. So, Dane, how do you see these designer, product manager, and marketer roles working together differently in the future?
Yeah, I think a lot when organizations set up, it's typically very much, if not hierarchical, it's very linear, where you have, let's say you're kicking off a product launch, you have the product team do an overview, they meet with the PMM kind of writes out the scope of what we need to do, they may hand it off to a creative team. You're kind of thinking about like all these like essentially linear inputs and outputs. What we've seen actually be much more effective, and to be honest, this is how a lot of like we've thought through kind of our research and engineering teams when we brought this idea into the marketing team, is creating more pods. So instead of like basically having like all these people with their little part of the role that they're doing to basically add up together, we might create like a much smaller team where it's actually engineer, product manager, designer maybe, and maybe a creative person as well, kind of all sitting together from the start and kind of scoping what this launch is. And they would handle a lot more of their responsibility. They would come up and think about the messaging. They would use AI to kind of think about the audiences. They would do the creative work. They would think about the launch. They'd be doing the briefings with the executives. Where you have the small group kind of owning this project together that's kind of seeing it through every single step. And AI is kind of giving them the abilities to kind of interact and feel more empowered to take things on. So kind of moving to this more like this pod approach and taking kind of assigning people to key projects versus everyone kind of contributing, a tiny bit to every project. I think that's actually a really cool way to work. It gives people more ownership, builds better cross-functional relationships. You kind of learn a little bit more about each other that way. I think you ship faster, and with somewhat less people involved, but giving people a bigger piece of each of the work, I think you actually probably raise typically the quality and kind of the impact of the work itself. So I'm really excited to see AI kind of change some of maybe the dynamics of how organizations have been structured to be a little bit faster, more nimble, more collaborative, and really kind of having more of like a pod or project focus for how teams could work together.
Yeah, and what are you seeing AI do that teams cannot do?
I think it's like kind of the core of like what do you get when you have 1 + 1 + 3 or 1 + 1 = 3? It's when people and AI are kind of working together. I think AI can help with a lot of things like data analysis. We talked about some of the creative work, bringing in different opinions. There's typically very little if any bias unless you in any AI query you're doing. But having people kind of in that loop, kind of thinking about and kind of helping AI improve. Example is for our customer support at OpenAI. We want AI kind of helping and kind of guiding what the support is. But we've actually kind of changed somewhat the role of our support team where they're able to come in and grade the evaluations of how AI is doing, help kind of even post-train the model to be better at its support. And like that actually gives the people a little bit more of a strategic role in the process where they're, not just having to answer every single question, but they're helping the models kind of get better and more effective as well. And kind of thinking about more different trends and how people are really kind of interacting and asking questions. So I think that's like actually really powerful. It's like, what are the ways that, AI can like elevate the impact of the individual and that they can actually contribute and help make kind of that AI and the performance of your models and your different solutions you're building more effective.
And George, what about you? Do you think teams are working differently with AI today?
Yeah, I think Dane touched on this a little earlier, that idea of changing the altitude at which you're operating and being more strategic. AI helps you move to being doing more directing versus doing all the work yourself. And so as like the human in the process, you're helping set the intent, the taste, the brand look and feel. And then AI takes that info and handles the retrieval of the content you need, the context setting for you and the team, and then generating that first draft for you. And so you find yourself increasingly, and definitely happening with my team, is AI serves as sort of a co-pilot. It's not autopilot, but it's definitely augmenting the way you work and helping you operate at that more strategic level. In this process where you have AI connecting to all of your tools, context is becoming a new form of currency. And so we feel like the future of productivity is AI powered collaboration. So the human, the AI, and that context brought together. And we think that's going to help teams succeed faster, more efficiently. We actually have a tool that we built around this concept. It's called Dropbox Dash, and it really helps you bring all of this information and context into one container, and then you can share it cross-functionally. So the other thing that Dana mentioned was sort of working in smaller pods. This new way of working with AI-powered tools helps you bring everyone into cross-functionally into one space with that shared context, which means the handoffs are quicker, there's fewer knowledge silos, and you're just getting better results company-wide where these tools are deployed.
If I can actually add one thing on to George said too, with context comes confidence. And like this is what I've actually seen, that people that feel really comfortable using AI, using ChatGPT, using connectors, asking questions to things, like Dropbox in your connectors, they have a lot more confidence in the work that they're doing. Because if you give them what is unfortunately way too common, ambiguous projects, scopes where they don't have all the information, like they can go find it. And they can learn about a product. They can learn about a design system. They can learn about why this is important. They can learn about a persona. And so I find people often like get stuck because they don't really know the answer, they don't know where to find the answer, and they don't know how to progress it. And like that to me is like actually something really beautiful about AI. If you can give people context, you can give them confidence to move forward. And like, and I love that when I see my team kind of light up when they get an ambiguous project and like, I have ChatGPT, I have AI, I can go and solve this. And I think that's like a really powerful dynamic in how people approach the work and how they might approach other things in life as well.
Yeah, completely agree. Context brings you confidence with AI tools. That is 100% true. So, and the interconnectivity between your tools is really how you build that. So, really appreciate that perspective. So, as promised, Kelsey, our product marketing AI lead at Canva, will take you through step-by-step demos of how to integrate AI into your marketing workflow. Over to you, Kelsey.
Thanks, Jackie. So imagine you've researched, built a strategy, and aligned on the direction using the incredible tools we've just covered. This is where Canva's Magic Studio at scale really shines. From one campaign idea, you can instantly create hundreds of tailored designs, resize them for every platform, all while staying on brand. So today, here you can see I've set up our July campaign in a Canvas sheet so we can jump straight in and see all of the magic of Magic Studio at scale. So what I've done here is I've just preloaded a few different columns. So we have the stage of our launch, we have some market, product, and audience segment information, which we don't have yet, but we do have in a file that we'll upload later. I also have some images, which is quite a unique thing you can do in Canvas Sheets. You can actually embed images into your cells. And then we have some dates and drop downs just to make sure that everything is tracking on progress. So one of the trickiest parts of using Sheets can be uploading data. Data connectors in Canvas Sheets actually make it really easy to flow data from your favorite sources so you can tailor your designs and copy at scale. So today we'll be using it to import the product info that you see is missing here, but you can also use it to import customer data to personalize your designs at scale using names, accounts, or other info. So in order to pull up our data, we're just going to head here up to our main toolbar and we're going to click on Actions, and then we're going to click Import Data. And as you can see here, there's a few different data connectors. If you connect directly to them, they'll pull information from these accounts that you have directly. But for today, it's just in a simple CSV. So I'm going to click this Upload Data button here. I'm going to scroll down until I get to my customer data sheet and click Open. So what this is doing is uploading the data as a new design for us. So if I go to my designs, I can see all of the data just very simply input here. And as you can see, it has all the information we need for market, product, and audience segment. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that and pop it into our sheet here. So now we have everything we need about our market, our popular products, and our segments, and we're all ready to go to create our actual content. One thing that's amazing about Magic Studio at scale in Canvas Sheets is that you have access to Magic Write. So you can forget writing time-consuming variations for different markets or channels. With Magic Write in Sheets, you can generate content instantly at scale. So you just select, I'm going to go ahead and select here the empty headlines next to our Australia launch because we know we want these in English. And I'm going to head back to this action toolbar and click Fill Empty Cells. And what it's going to do, it's going to use Magic Write to generate ideas based on all of the information we have in our design. So it knows, because I have that column titled headline, that I want a headline in there. And it also knows to pull the different products and audience segments directly from our other columns. So you can even make adjustments to these different things based on anything you need. So let's say we're really liking the direction that this is heading in. It's taking into account all of the information that I want it to, but I want it to be a little bit shorter. So I might just say this, but make it 5 words only. It's got to fit on our posts after all, so we don't want it to be too long. Amazing. So I'm really happy with those. I'm just going to click Insert, and now we have some headlines for our product ready. And if we want to keep everything perfectly on brand, you can actually head back to this Actions toolbar and click Apply Brand Voice, which essentially takes all the information that you have in these cells and it makes it in tone with your brand. So there you have perfectly on brand captions for your products, for your certain segments, all within Australia, which is so quick and easy. The next thing we are going to do is you can see here that our next market is France. So we're going to need to translate these headlines for our French market. So let's say we wanted them to be exactly the same. We'll just copy down the English version so we know what we're translating. We'll head back to the same actions toolbar and we'll scroll down until we find translate. And what we're going to do here is select our language. I think there's almost over 100 you can choose from, which is great. But today we're doing France. And if you wanted to, you can apply different tones of voice here. But since I already applied my brand voice, I'm just going to keep it as is and assume that it's going to be just in line with my brand. And then I'll just click translate here. And as you can see, there's the option to either translate directly over your cells, or you could add it to a new column. So say you just wanted a different variation, you can add it to a brand new column as well. So we'll click translate and voila, we have some French translations ready to go. So that's all of our headlines done for our posts for our different products, for our different audience segments in our different markets. So we've done a lot of tailoring of these posts to make sure that they're ready to go. And the next thing we need to do is tackle our product images. So as you can see here, they're really cool images of our different products, but they all have backgrounds that might not look good in the posts we have outlined. So what you can do is actually remove all of these backgrounds at scale in Canvas Sheets. So if you select this entire row, you can access it from the same old action toolbar here, or you can actually click background remover right here. And what it's going to do is remove the background from all of my images all at once. So these used to have backgrounds and now they are beautiful backgroundless images ready to go straight into our post. Saves us tons of time. That happened in just seconds. So now that we have everything we need, this is where things are going to get really exciting. We can turn them into actual designs using bulk create. So you can generate multiple design variations all in one go. Everything is really nicely organized in our sheet. English and French headlines are freshly cleaned up. Visuals and platform specific copy. So you simply select the rows you want to turn into design. So what I'm going to do is click just the headlines and images because that's all we actually need for our post. And I'm going to head to actions here and I'm going to scroll down until I find bulk create. I'm going to confirm that this is the data I want to use in my designs and I'm going to click continue. And then I'm going to click here from my designs I have on handy, pull some of your brand templates or any designs that you've recently used to create all of your content with. So this is a July post I've created just for this campaign. And now what I'm going to need to do is connect the different pieces so that it populates the designs with exactly what I need. So I'm going to go here and say connect data. And it's already identified for me that this is likely an image. So I'm going to click image. And that means that every single time it bulk creates this design, it's going to replace this image. And then I'm going to click here and say, this is where I want my headline to go. So now that that's all connected and set up, we can just simply click create 12 designs and it will create a bunch of different designs for us with all of our variations in just a few seconds, which is really, really cool. So as you can see here, it's got our first kind of tailored design all ready to go. But that is not all it can do. The last step here is we are going to make sure we've got the right formats for every platform. And with Magic Resize in Sheets, you can actually adapt multiple designs at one time into multiple formats like Instagram stories, Facebook posts, and LinkedIn in just a few clicks. So using this Instagram post as our base, I'm going to select all of the ones I want to resize, which is actually all of these. I'm going to head to the actions toolbar and scroll down until I find resize designs. Then here you can select where you're going to save your resized designs to. So I've actually pre-made us a folder here for July campaign assets. So instead of having it go directly into my projects, I'm going to organize it in a folder from the very beginning. Going to click add to folder. I'm going to make sure that all of the designs I want to resize here are done. They're all selected. That's great. And then I'm going to select some different social media sizes that I want to work this ad into. So I've got my Instagram post covered. I think I'm going to try to do a Facebook ad and a LinkedIn post for each one. And then I'm simply going to select copy and resize. And what it's going to do is add a bunch of rows and a bunch of new designs so that I can have perfectly tailored designs across all of these. And then when I go to my home, I can go to my different folders and I can see in my July campaign all of the different assets that I have created here in different sizes. So you can see here some are long and some are square. And the best part is that we've created all of these assets, but they're all fully editable Canva designs. So you can tweak, tailor, and transform any part of it to fit your brand or exactly what you want to do. So you can manually change the text, the colors, or you can even continue to edit your photos with Canva's AI-powered photo editor. So let's say maybe I didn't want to remove the background, but I rather wanted to transform it to show off my product in a forest. All you need to do is select your image and head to this edit toolbar. And then you can select background generator, which is one of our fun new photo editing tools. You can type in any prompt you want. Let's say I want to do a peaceful forest at sunset. That's really matching the green vibe that I have going on here. And I'll click generate. What it's going to do is give you 4 different options for how your product image could look in this different background. So even if I hadn't removed the background, it would be able to understand what was in the foreground, what was in the background, and make changes accordingly. Just give it a few seconds because it's coming up with some really brilliant forest ideas. And I have a few different options for how I'd want it to show up in a forest at sunset. So let's say I like this dark and moody one a little bit better. I can click that and it's added this new background to my photo. And then there's this lovely relight button, which actually helps you adjust to this scene. So it's not just sticking your image onto a background, it's making it feel like it's really blended in. So you can see that it's letting the sun actually shine through. So I think this balanced relight is looking really natural and I'm going to be all done. So now your campaign assets are all good to go. You have different assets for your different products, for your different segments of users, tailored to your different markets in Australia and France. We've managed to create over 40 assets, all tailored for those different nuances in just a few minutes, and you can do it too with Canva Sheets and Magic Studio at scale. Thanks.
Thanks, Kelsey. That really helps us bring this to life. So now that you know what's possible, here's 5 areas you can get AI working for you. Firstly, strategy for competitive research, product marketing, and customer listening. Secondly, data to simplify analysis, uncover customer insights, deliver highly targeted and effective communications. Third, sales to deliver the right message at the right place at the right time. Fourth, creation to build efficiency in generating text and images, videos, brainstorming, translation, and captions. And finally here, personalization, creating customization at scale with mass SEO. When it comes to ROI, our top 3 points are to think beyond productivity and experimentation. That's expected. You need to track and evaluate campaign performance, campaign optimization, including conversion rates, click-through rates, and cost efficiency. You want to be able to multiply your team impact without having to add team members. For example, today, you can now make a campaign in many languages using translate features without having to have specialized resources in your team. Next, you want to optimize AI outputs through human evaluation to amplify personalization and performance and make sure the work really resonates with the human in the loop workflows that you have. Before we wrap up, we'd love to hear from you. So tell us in the chat, how would you bring Canva's AI tools or workflows into your company or your team? Whether you're a current Canva customer or you're just exploring, share your idea and our favorite response will win a $100 wellness reset gift. It's our way of celebrating your creativity while reminding you that sometimes the best ideas come to us when we take a moment of pause. If you'd like to learn more about transforming AI marketing workflows, follow the QR code to our State of Marketing and AI report. Or for a shorter read, you can check out the top 4 AI hacks that Canva's marketing team swears by. And finally, I'd love to thank our guests, Dane, George, David, and Kelsey. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, please do put them in the chat, and we'll see you next time.